Homeowner furious as neighbor adds shocking extra 3 stories to house, and there's nothing she can do about it. So a few weeks ago, we were talking about HOAs, and there's a good number of negative comments missed about HOAs, but this is one of those. This was one of them things.
Oh, I just remember the people was going off.
People were going in on these HOAs. But for all the negative stuff about HOAs, this is one of the big reasons that it's great to have an HOA.
Man.
When you have a neighbor that decides, I'm going to add 3-story addition on this side, it's going to look kind of like a hotel. If you didn't see, it's the thumbnail clip for this video. It's going to look kind of like a hotel combined with a single family home, and it's going to block the view and all the sun east of your house, or whatever direction it faces toward the sun. It's like, I thought this was just crazy.
The Howard Johnson home is what I like to call it. Oh yeah, don't forget to like, comment, share, or subscribe.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yeah,
we do that.
Remembering that this time.
We welcome your comments.
All the negative and positive ones. It's
Yep. Just
all
helps
welcome.
boost us. I ain't gonna read them no way, so y'all can talk about me all day long.
Well, apparently you and the lady that decided to build this addition on the house are in the same boat. They don't care what nobody say. They like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I don't need no approval.
Professional home. We think of multi-generational homes. I actually have a couple of them on the market right now, like 3 stories, a basement, separate entrances, stuff like that. But not, and when I say 3 stories, I don't mean as an addition. I mean like was originally built, the original floor plan. It's seamless, it flows, it goes together.
Mm-hmm.
This here look like the brainchild of Howard Johnson
meets Trailer Park Susie
and DRB Home. I don't know what this is. It's crazy.
It is the taggiest thing, and I'm like, I don't know how in the world that even got past like inspectors, and it got county approval. So just to read a little bit of the story, this is in Virginia. So it was a Virginia resident, and they put the name in there. Name ain't important, so I ain't gonna mention the name. But basically, the person that's affected, it says she's now concerned with exactly how her neighbor's 3-story addition will impact her life at home. So as we mentioned earlier, it does block pretty much all the sun, and she's got a garden over there dying because it can't get no sunlight because you got this 3-story tower literally right next to your building. But not just that, home values. It impacts resale values because if you decide you want to put your home on the market and you're like, what can I get for this home? You got to think about who's going to want to buy this home right next to this, catastrophe, this eyesore. It's just, anyways. So, it says that the lady who was, negatively affected, she spoke with her neighbors who, they're remaining anonymous. But she claims that she was blindsided by the sheer size and scope of this project. So she's like, it's really hard for them to understand how this was approved. And, she said they built it and said it's going to be a multi-generational home, which not only is it an eyesore, but now you're going to have like, 3, 4 families living up in this thing.
Oh my gosh.
Because the addition is bigger than the house. It's almost like you built an addition and now the house has become the addition to to this bigger thing because the addition is like way bigger than what the house is.
But even in addition to that, when you look at it, it's got 2 different architectural styles. this like a Cape Cod, the original? I guess that's what they maybe call it, or some sort of colonial farmhouse looking kind of.
Yeah, like the original home. Yeah.
And then the other one is all rectangular and to me kind of modern looking with the angles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has all these windows right next to each other that so eerily closely resemble to me what looks like what would be on a hotel. I don't know.
So, and this is in Fairfax County, Virginia. And basically, after all of this stuff, went back and forth with this lady, voicing her concerns over, everything that's transpired. Fairfax County, which is the county in Virginia where this took place, their zoning laws allow for this, and as well for the fact that the community has no HOA. So for all the hate that HOAs get, your HOA would have prevented this. Your HOA would not have allowed this. And I'm not, here to, point sides one way or another in support of HOAs or against them. But I'm just saying there is a benefit. But yeah, Fairfax County also said that basically the final answer they gave is they said they understand the frustrations of the homeowner that's been negatively impacted by this. However, there is no path forward to prevent similar outcomes from this, like this, from happening in the future because it's legal. In Fairfax County, Virginia, they took the legal steps and there's no law that's prohibiting this from happening. They got all the permits that they needed to get to be able to build this, monstrosity. So, yeah, there's nothing that can prevent this thing from happening again in the future. So,
I think one thing that people don't realize about HOAs as well, especially, in Georgia anyway, when it comes to real estate law, just because the county passes it doesn't necessarily mean that the HOA would allow it, because the HOA, they can't say or impose lower restrictions than what the county or the city would, but they can always impose tighter restrictions. Like they can go above what the county or the city imposes. They just can't say, oh, well, the city and county says you can't do that, but in this neighborhood you can. They can't do that by law. And so this is why, we're saying that an HOA could have helped prevent this, because even if the county says or the city approves it, the HOA could just be like, no. So they have that governing right within those four corners of that subdivision or whatever. And so, HOAs aren't all bad. And if anyone that's watching now has seen our previous episodes, you all know what side me and Frederick both stand on. Like Frederick, he's more of the against HOA, and I'm more for it, but I'm also kind of in the middle. Like if I don't have one, it has to be the neighborhood has to reflect that, okay, we're governing ourselves pretty well around here. I need to be able to see that it's thriving without one, and people are not, just doing whatever they want to do, parking in the grass, got a boat and all of this different color paints, and got a daycare in the middle of the neighborhood, and just with all the different weird paint colors, and why is it daycares always have red, green, yellow, blue, and purple paint on the outside? And it's like, is that supposed to make the child more excited to be here? But then when you have it in the middle of a neighborhood with all these other houses, like I see that quite often in Atlanta, just driving around and showing houses. And I would not want to live, because property value is everything to me. And so I love that, difference makes the world go round. We all have our preferences, and we all have our reasons for our preferences. So yeah, this is a monstrosity if I ever saw one.
I mean, mysterious fires popping up out of nowhere came to mind when I'm conveniently out of town and can have an alibi.
And I bet you they're gonna probably have them lights on there. And that's what the lady in the article was saying. She was like, I'm not gonna have no privacy. And that's really one thing. Like, I don't really like those neighborhoods where the houses are right up on each other, especially if you have a one story and your neighbor has more than one story. They can be in their upper bedroom and see exactly what you're doing in your backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And she says how much more,
yeah,
with my daughter and stuff like that. And, these people so mad, they trying to get the zoning ordinances changed. They going to have a board meeting. They say, we're not standing for this. Good luck, y'all.
That was the other thing I completely forgot. No, thank you. Because she did say it does affect the privacy that they have, because from that third story, the blinds have to stay completely closed. Yeah, because they're like, if the blinds are open at all, they can see directly into every room in that house. And
every room.
I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, yeah, you done affected my privacy, everything. So
y'all had a 4 a.m. prayer meeting last night, huh? How was that?
Yeah.
It's all in your business.
I would have to, I hate to say it, I would have to take some drastic measures to kind of try to make them move and get this torn down. I'd be chanting some rituals and throwing salt on their house.
Oh no, not resorting to witchcraft. Oh, no.
They'd be like, what is wrong with that? I think is he cursing us? Like,
Oh God. I prayed a neighbor away before. I sure have. It was this girl and this boy. They weren't married. They were boyfriend and girlfriend. They lived next to me, and I would hear them fighting at least once a week, and especially during the first of the month, because he would never help her pay rent, and I would hear them cussing each other out, and throwing each other around through the walls. I said, you know what? And within 6 months, they moved out. I was like, oh, y'all moving? So sad to see y'all go. All right then. Like I hadn't been up in here praying for the last 6 months. Move them out, Jesus. Oh, I will have peace in my home. I don't play that.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons why I live where I live. I love having peace. I love my neighbors. I love that my neighbors are not, rambunctious.
Yes.
But they are very great, kind hearted, loving people. So it's like, yeah,
blessing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love where I'm at. So,
I pray for good neighbors every time I move, because baby, the wrong neighbor will have you. And this is what I tell people all the time. This is what I tell my mom. Your house is literally the only place where you can control the environment in those four walls. Outside of there, you have literally no control, no matter where you go, whether it's Walmart, even church. You don't know somebody gonna come in there acting crazy. But in the four walls, like, this is the only place where I can reasonably expect peace and quiet enjoyment. And so then you can't easily just get away all the time if something drastic happens. You can't just up and move. So it's imperative to have peace where you are, as far as you can, as it depends on you. So
yeah,
it's important to have peace.
No, absolutely. You know what else is important to have? Rainwater. I told you I could make it work. It works.
That was about as smooth as a 12-year-old child's face. Prepubescent. Okay.
It works. It's important.
Rainwater.
It's important to have rainwater.
Tell us all about it, Frederick.
And collect it in a very responsible, resourceful way.
He insisted on doing this in this story, y'all.
Yes, because as someone who has a garden, it interested me, because I'm like, I have also had to go out there with the water hose and just water my garden. And so when I saw the story, I was like, this is very interesting. So there are several cities, or areas, I should say. One of them is San Francisco. It's a couple in Oregon as well, that are using rainwater. They're, developing ways to capture rainwater, reuse rainwater. And these are things that are happening in areas that are more drought cautious, if you will, areas that tend to go a good period of time without receiving rain. And so some of the things they're doing, they are collecting rainwater runoff from roofs, driveways, and other hard surfaces. And this has a couple of different benefits. One of them obviously is natural water storage systems. So they've got a system in place where they can store water that they can utilize for gardening, which is the primary purpose. I don't think any of this is being turned into drinking water, or even though, you could, I guess, purify it. But this is mostly being used for outdoor purposes, which is conserving the water that normally is potable water, which is water that people can drink. So that water is not just being utilized for, outdoor purposes to spray on the grass.
I thought it was potable. Oh my goodness. See, you learn something every day. Be quiet and listen.
Yeah, potable water. Yeah.
Potable.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is exactly what we called it all the time on the ship too. When I was back in the Navy, potable water is what we, had for drinking and everything. But one of them is, just having water stored up that you could utilize for outdoors. The second thing, flood protection. Some of these areas, when they do get heavy rain, a lot of times you end up having, mudslides? You have flooding that takes place because
those mountainous areas.
Exactly. Yeah. Because there's no system in place to take this rainwater and guide it to a better place. In areas that tend to get a little bit more rain, like, here in the South, we don't tend to have the same flooding problems as maybe some of those other areas, just because, we've got a better drainage system built because we get a lot more rain.
Right.
But having these systems built as for flood protection in a lot of these neighborhoods where these systems are being built, drought resistant landscaping solutions. So when you have, landscaping that needs water in a drought area, this is one way that you can have those landscapes. But another one is groundwater recharge zones. So, basically just being an area that helps to maintain the groundwater that's already there. The ground's not drying out or anything like that. So I thought it was interesting.
Well, enough about that. Get to the financial incentives.
I mean, it can save you some money if on your water bill. I don't know what the water bill, I forget what the water bills are on the West Coast. I used to live on the West Coast. But I forget what the water bills used to be out there. I know they're high. I had one neighbor actually who had, and this is not an exaggeration, on his third of an acre, 61 fruit trees in his yard. He had been cautioned by, it was like either the city or the county, because he used to water his lawn frequently, because with all of those, all that vegetation sucking up all the water out the ground, it's like you got to keep the ground watered or your vegetation's going to die. So he frequently would water the ground. And this was when I was living in San Diego. San Diego's one of those areas where it don't rain in Southern California, if you've ever heard the song before. So
It never rain.
Yeah, so it's like he's the one out there with the water hose just using it all on his lawn, and people are like, we need to conserve this water for more important purposes. He was like, well, my fruit trees. So
did he sell the fruit? I mean, what did it benefit anybody other than him?
So he would give it away to some people sometimes, friends, family. Sometimes he would give away some of the fruit trees. He eat, or some of the fruit from the trees. He would eat some of the fruit from the trees, obviously. I was out running around. I had ran a few miles through the neighborhood and everything. And I was on my way back home, and I had stopped and chatted with him. And he gave me like 4 avocados, because he had avocado trees in his backyard too. And I was like, oh, well, thank you. And he's like, yeah, put them in a brown paper bag and they'll ripen quicker than if you were to just leave them out on the counter or put them in the refrigerator or something like that, if you want to eat them, a lot quicker or whatever. And so, I thought of that as well, because I'm like, he could really benefit from something like this, where he can store up something. So when it does rain, you can collect enough water and store it, so you're not having to tick off your neighbors during drought season, because there would be times where it's like, hey, we need to conserve the water, and he's out there watering his garden. Now, I will say he did have like a If I remember correctly, he said that his water bill on average was about $260 a month for his water bill. That's a
That's
lot.
not too bad. I mean, by whatever day standards that was. I mean,
Yeah.
today it probably would have been double that, I would imagine.
This was about a decade or so ago. Um,
Everything done went up. Telling you.
yeah. Yeah, this was about a decade or so ago. So yeah, I mean, to me that's expensive because I've never even seen $100 water bill. Like water's just not that expensive per gallon. And I kind of caution saying that because I know there's parts of the world where like water is really, really scarce and it's hard to come by, and people have to walk for miles just to get fresh, drinkable water and everything. So here, I guess you just don't realize how good we got it. I guess you could say, just
Right.
cut on the tap and just got water flowing freely. Don't have to worry so much about, oh, where we're gonna get drinkable water. I grew up drinking water out the hose when you be
Well,
outside
I mean,
playing or
that's
whatever.
amazing. You have a household size of 5 and never seen no water bill over 100.
Oh
That's
yeah.
quite amazing. But I think right now you all definitely control the water usage, especially if you still run your kids' baths or they're not taking showers yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, that it might change in a few years. I don't know, Frederick. He'll let us know. He'll give us an update.
Oh yeah, yeah. Nah, kids be walking around thirsty. Like, hold on, we gotta keep this water bill down.
No, for real, my dad used to do stuff like that. He used to say, whatever water you run while you're waiting for the shower to heat up, the shower water to heat up, catch it in the bucket, and we're going to flush the toilet with that. He had these military grade shower heads where you can actually stop the flow of water.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, while you lathering up and scrubbing and all of that, unless you rinsing, the water don't need to be running. So you wet your body down and then you turn the flow of the water off and you scrub and lather up and then you turn it back on when you're ready to I mean, it was extreme. Like,
Oh wow.
it was extreme. He
Yeah.
was like, we
So
got to get these bills down. I'm like, goodness.
so
But
no, I was gonna say, yeah, military showers I am very much familiar with because I learned them in the Navy when I got in, and it was like, oh, we're gonna take military showers. I'm like, what's a military shower? Get in, you cut the water on, you get wet, cut the water off, you lather up, you cut the water on, you rinse off, you cut the water off, you dry off, and that's it.
Yeah.
The total run time for the water was about like 10, 15 seconds. It wasn't long at all. So
wow.
yeah,
Mm.
save a lot of water. This whole like, oh, just leave the water running while you're lathering up. Like, yeah, that was not a thing in the Navy. It was like, nope, you take military showers. You cut it on, you cut it off.
Right. Well, in this article, it did say that several cities across the state of Oregon, anyway, are offering rebates ranging from $50 to over $500, depending on the size of the rain garden installation. It would be nice if they adopted something like that down here in Georgia. But like you said, Frederick, it's really, we get enough rain to where we don't have to
Oh yeah.
like make use of the water and like that. But they'll receive $65 per downspout disconnected and redirected into a rain garden. So I mean that's a pretty nice incentive. I love a kickback. I love a little
Oh yeah.
rebate in return. That's always good. But
Yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, I even though we get a little bit more rain here in the southeast, it's like I'm still not opposed if y'all want to throw some kickbacks. I don't know how many people would be, utilizing them. It don't seem like that many people into gardening here. They're like, nah, I'm straight.
right,
I mean,
that's true.
but yeah.
I want to. My next property is definitely going to have some space for me to garden. And I think that would be important for a lot of people, simply because we don't know where the economy and the world is going, but we may get to a point where it just makes sense to grow our own food. You just never know. I know the Bible talks about famine in diverse places, during the last days. And so it might be a famine everywhere else, but at my house and at my address, we're going to have plenty to eat.
Mhm.
So, I don't know.
The hard part is actually going to be just finding the seeds to plant because, they genetically
That's true.
produce so much food in this country to where like they grow the food in a lab so that they grow it without the seeds. And I was like, that is so ungodly, because everything that God made produces after its own kind. And it doesn't just produce one, it produces exponentially more after its own kind. It's like you eat an apple, there are like at least like 4 or 5 seeds in that apple, but each seed doesn't get you one more apple. It gets you an entire tree that gets you apples for years to come, you know, and each one of those, it's like from one apple seed, you can grow an entire orchard. You know, you can eventually have an entire orchard, but it's like when the way that we genetically modify and grow our food in labs, to where you have seedless watermelon, seedless clementines, seedless, you know, you name it, seedless grapes, seedless, because I almost forgot that grapes used to have seeds in them. It's like, because everything we buy now is seedless. And it's like, that is not the natural way that it was meant. But I was watching a video the other day, and it was a gentleman who's very much about getting back to the roots of, you know, more natural things that we're putting in our bodies and everything. And he was like, yeah, it's more of a control thing, because if you have food that you more so, you know, grow in a lab, and you make it harder for people to just, hey, I got an apple, and you have gardens that you can just plant it in. Because he also was talking about how there used to be fruit trees just in neighborhoods. People used to have them in their front yards. And I actually did some research on it and found it was actually true. There used to be like gardens, fruit trees, everything. They used to be all around, like in green spaces in front of grocery stores and stuff like that. You used to be able to just have trees that had fruit on them, or shopping stores or whatever. And in people's yards, they had, you know, trees that grew fruit. And even if you have like some grandparents or great grandparents that live in some of the older neighborhoods, you drive through them, you might still see like some of them do actually have, like, they might have an orange tree or a lemon tree or a peach tree, you know, just in their yard. And that used to be the common thing, was actually having these fruit trees or, you know, gardens in your yard that just grew food. But then that started to go away. It was, I think it was in England, or it was one of the countries in Europe, that the very elite and wealthy, to show how little they needed to have food growing in their yard, they cut down all the trees. And so you had these vast areas of just land, clear land. And that became the symbol or the status of what was good to have and nice to have. Like, I don't need fruit growing in my yard. I can clear off all the trees and just have all of this green space and grass. And so that became what, and I literally researched all of it. I was like, wow, this is actually true what he's saying, because you got to research everything now. But it's like, it was actually true what he was saying. So now everybody, they started cutting down their fruit trees, and what's viewed as being a beautiful yard is a clean yard with green grass, no fruit trees, because they were like, also with the trees, obviously, if you don't pick all the fruit off, some of the fruit will fall, some of the fruit will, you know, rot. You got to clean up the fruit, that whole deal. But
they could make your grass turn brown too, because, or just not grow at all. Just depending on how, you know, how many leaves and how, you know, big the tree gets. But still, man, like those neighborhood gardens, like people would be able to just walk by, they're hungry, and just pick a piece of fruit off while they're walking by your house.
yeah.
You know, because it's right there at the edge of your property. I've seen, there's a few places in the city of Atlanta that are still kind of like that. I was reading about that several months ago. I read where they're, you know, trying to bring that back. I saw some places on, some videos on YouTube about that very thing, you know, even just nut trees, you know, where you have pecans or whatever, hazelnuts or whatever. And they fall. There's a couple of places down south, like, I forgot where it was, but it's by a courthouse, and they have like a little grove with pecan trees, and anybody can go and pick the pecans. They don't charge you for it or anything. Well, at least it used to be that way. Probably gonna change now. You know, everybody's out for profit. It's just so sad.
And that's the other part of the whole, like, genetically modified food that we're eating. It's like, it doesn't reproduce after its kind, but if you can make that so dominant to where it's like people have to go to the grocery stores to buy what literally grows on trees. Like, I remember growing up, when I would want something, you know, when you're a kid, you're always asking for stuff, and at least my parents from time to time, like, oh, money don't grow on trees. It's like, yeah, I get it. But food actually grows on trees. How is it we have so many people that are hungry in the world, or even in just, not even the whole world, let's just in the city. You've got people, food insecurity that is an issue in the city when food grows on trees in abundance, like not in lack. Like God created this thing to where it abundantly just happens. And so it's like, I don't understand it. I mean, I do, because, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. So yeah, people can monetize something that you can literally get for free. They will monetize something that you can get for free. Because it's like, oh, you're going to charge people for those apples that you literally just took a seed and planted, and, you did no work other than maybe watering it, assuming no rain fell. But yeah.
Oh,
Well, it is what it is.
get your own, grow your own.
I got my garden going, and I only plan to continue to expand and increase it. So
Yes, that's awesome.
who knows what's going to happen in the future. That ain't why I'm doing it. I actually enjoy having fresh stuff growing out the garden, and I know exactly where it came from. I know what's on it, but I know what's not on it. Herbicides, pesticides, all that stuff, because it does affect your system on some level. So
Yes. Yeah.
anyways, that's what we got. And till next time, Fridays, make sure you tune in. Another episode, Greatest Asset Community. Tuesdays, live, 7 p.m. Take care. Be blessed. See you next week.